This is a PDR Live. Please like the live stream and subscribe to our channel if you have not done so already. So, about a little over an hour ago, the District Attorney of New York, Alvin Bragg, announced the indictment of Luigi Mangione. So, Luigi Mangione has been charged with first-degree murder in a furtherance of terrorism, and he was also charged with 2 other counts on the second-degree charges. Please subscribe to our channel if you have not done so. This is a PDR Live, and like the live stream, please. So that's the situation at the moment. Give me just 1 second. I need to do a little quick. All right. Now, we're going to go ahead and listen to the video of Alvin Bragg announcing the charges.
We are here to announce that Luigi Mangione, the defendant, is charged with 1 count of murder in the first degree and 2 counts of murder in the second degree, including 1 count of murder in the second degree as an act of terrorism for the brazen, targeted, and premeditated shooting of Brian Thompson, who, as you know, was the CEO of UnitedHealthcare. This case was made possible by the collaborative efforts of the phenomenal public servants you see before you today, and so many others who are not here. I'm honored to lead the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and privileged to serve alongside Assistant District Attorneys Joel Seidman, Kristen Bailey, and Zachary Kaplan, who were working from the outset, hand in hand, with the greatest police department in the world. The chief of our trial division, Lisa Del Pizzo, and the deputy chief, Chris Prevost, provided sage oversight and direction. And I want to acknowledge our high technology analysis unit. There was a lot to be processed here. Steve Moran, in particular, who heads that, and Marco Popic. We are privileged here at the DA's office to work every day with the phenomenal public servants at the NYPD. It has been a distinct pleasure to work besides Commissioner Tisch, an exemplary partner, and Chief of Detectives Joseph Kinney. Almost every day we're in touch, and his leadership is second to none. And then Deputy Commissioner Rebecca Weiner, who, as I tell her, there are a lot of challenging things happening in the world, and I sleep better at night knowing that she is the Deputy Commissioner in charge of terrorism. The detectives on this, out doing the courageous frontline work, Detective Oscar Diaz, Detective Curcio, exemplary, the finest. It wasn't just those of us here in New York. I want to acknowledge the great work of our partners in Altoona, the Altoona Police Department, the Blair County District Attorney's Office, the governors of New York and Pennsylvania, the FBI, and of course, the brave members of the public who answered the call when our great commissioner put out the call for their assistance. This was a frightening, well-planned, targeted murder that was intended to cause shock and attention and intimidation. It occurred in one of the most bustling parts of our city, threatening the safety of local residents and tourists alike, commuters and business people just starting out on their day. Let me say a bit more about the charges. They include 1 count of murder in the first degree as a killing in furtherance of terrorism, 2 counts of murder in the second degree, 1 charging that the killing was done as an act of terrorism, and the second pertaining to the fact that the killing was intentional. The maximum penalty possible for murder in the first degree and murder in the second degree as an act of terrorism is life without parole. The maximum penalty for murder in the second degree is 25 years to life. There are additional counts as well. A number of criminal possession of weapon charges, 2 counts in the second degree, 4 counts in the third degree, 1 count in the fourth degree. and a count of criminal possession of a forged instrument in the second degree. Let me tell you a bit about the facts. On November 24th, we allege that the defendant arrived in New York City to murder Brian Thompson. After the defendant arrived in New York City on a bus at Port Authority, he checked into the hostel on the Upper West Side using the name Mark Rosario with a fake New Jersey ID. On the morning of December 4th, the defendant left the hostel, just after 5:30 a.m. and traveled to Midtown. For nearly an hour, we allege the defendant waited in the area near the Hilton Hotel, waiting for Mr. Thompson to appear. From 6:38 a.m. to 6:44 a.m., the defendant stood across from the entrance of the hotel on West 54th Street. When he saw Mr. Thompson, he crossed the street and approached him from behind. We allege he then took out a 9mm 3D printed ghost gun, equipped with a 3D printed suppressor, and shot him once in the back and once in the leg. The defendant then fled northeast on 54th Street and took an e-bike uptown before getting into a taxi that took him to West 178th Street and Amsterdam Avenue. On December 9th, the defendant was spotted at McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. The local police were notified. He was arrested, and he was found with a 9mm handgun, a suppressor, 2 ammunition magazines, and the same fake New Jersey ID he used at the hostel.
So that's Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg announcing the 3 charges, I believe. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the New York Times article here. Mangione is accused of fatally shooting UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson outside a Manhattan hotel on December 4th. Luigi Mangione was indicted on charges that include first-degree murder in the ambush killing of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson earlier this month. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office announced Tuesday. The indictment on murder in the first degree and furtherance of terrorism elevates the case against Mangione, 26, and Thompson's killing outside of a Manhattan hotel on December 4th. The New York State Supreme Court indictment also charges Mangione with 2 counts of second-degree murder, one of which is charged as a killing in the act of terrorism, 2 counts of second-degree criminal possession of a weapon, 4 counts of third-degree criminal possession of a weapon, 1 count of fourth-degree criminal possession of a weapon, and 1 count of second-degree criminal possession of a forged instrument, according to a statement from Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Bragg called Thompson's slaying a brazen, targeted, and premeditated shooting during a Tuesday afternoon press conference. This was a frightening, well-planned, targeted murder that was intended to cause shock and attention and intimidation. And Bragg added terrorism charges were warranted because the slaying was, quote, intended to evoke terror. And we have here New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch said during Tuesday's media briefing that the unsealing of the indictment helps move the case closer to securing justice for Thompson and his family. Tisch lambasted some of the reaction the fatal shooting has garnered, with Mangione praised by some as a hero instead of a killer. This was a senseless act of violence. It was a cold and calculated crime that stole a life and put New Yorkers at risk. We don't celebrate murders, and we don't lionize the killing of anyone. Tisch added that any attempt to rationalize the slaying is vile, reckless, and offensive to the principles of justice. The charges began to pile up for Mangione after his arrest at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania on December 9th, after he was recognized following a massive manhunt. So there we have it, folks. Terrorism charges. Now, I'm not an expert on the law or on the legal justice system, but it just seems to me that the terrorism charge, I wonder if they're going to have a difficult time proving that beyond a reasonable doubt, because here's the thing. If you look at the slaying, let me see if we can find the video of the slaying here. And I want to take a look at one that's not really like edited or anything. Let's do this one here. So if we look there, there's a person here on the right. Okay. So there's an individual there. When he shot Brian Thompson, the left, and the assailant didn't try to kill the person. So he just murdered this guy. Let's see if we have the footage here. Okay. So I think that they just moved, they just focused on him and didn't show, the media is so idiotic. But there's a person, see, running away, right? So there was a pedestrian. Well, that's what they mention it here in this video. So there's a pedestrian walking past, managed to escape the scene of the shooting, but the person was standing. They weren't walking by; they were standing there near the corner. He starts shooting. I think it's a lady. The person realizes what's going on, and they flee. They turn right into to the, I don't know if it was an alley there or the entrance of the hotel or something, but they on this video, she goes down and then turns to her left, which on this video would be to our right. And so he did not try to kill this person. There's no indication that this is a mass shooting or that this is a mass shooter. There's no indication that his intention was to cause terror. And in fact, actually, so he just flees. He doesn't do anything else and goes to Pennsylvania. It doesn't kill anybody else. Doesn't leave a bomb. Doesn't do any of those things. But let me see if we can find the manifesto here. Let's see. So here's the manifesto. To the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. I mean, I think that I'm not an expert in the law or how this is all gonna work out, but it just seems to me that I would think that his defense attorney is gonna introduce this manifesto in court, and they're gonna go ahead and read the manifesto and say, hey, he had no intention of committing terrorism. I mean, if you just read the manifesto here, he goes on to state the following. And I'm trying to find it here so that I'm not like looking right into the camera there on please bear with me. But you guys can read it there. There's, I would think that they're going to bring that into evidence. Well, of course, the prosecution is going to bring that into evidence. His manifesto, and it just seems that the manifesto, that his motive was not terrorism at all. So here it is. To the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. To save you a lengthy investigation, I state plainly that I wasn't working with anyone. This was fairly trivial, some elementary social engineering, basic CAD, and a lot of patience. The spiral notebook, if present, has some straggling notes and to-do lists that illuminate the gist of it. Now, the notebook did mention that he thought of doing bombings, but then decided not to because he didn't want to endanger the lives of innocents. So there, you just have another element there of evidence stating that he thought of potentially committing a terrorist act because of, you leave a bomb and that's going to cause havoc. And he actually thought of it and then decided, no, you know what, this is going to kill innocent people. I'm not going to do it. Or people he deemed innocent. And I assume what he meant by that is that the people in public, right? So if he plants a bomb while the guy's walking by or is in his room, the bomb goes off and it might kill somebody nearby, who is not the intended target. So it just seems that, to me, that this whole terrorism charge, I think they're going to have a difficult time proving that beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, maybe they could make the argument that he tried to strike terror in UnitedHealthcare. But I don't know how the terrorism laws work. But I wonder if they're just going to have a difficult time proving that this was an act of terrorism. And he goes on, my tech is pretty locked down because I worked in engineering, so probably not much info there. I do apologize for any strife of traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. A reminder, the U.S. has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly 42 in life expectancy. United is the largest company in the U.S. by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, Walmart. It has grown and grown, but as our life expectancy? No, the reality is these, and parasites, have simply gotten too powerful, and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. Obviously, the problem is more complex, but I do not have the space, and frankly, I do not pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument. But many have illuminated the corruption and greed, ergo Rosenthal and more, decades ago, and the problem simply remain. It is not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly power games at play. Evidently, I am the first to face it with such brutal honesty. So, I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm just not a legal expert, but I do wonder if they're going to have a tough time proving this beyond a reasonable doubt. Let's see if there's any other commentary being done right now. Let's see, on even on NBC. So that was just okay. So here's
now, as we await the
Jessica Tisch
extradition
is the
process,
police commissioner here in New York City, alongside the Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, holding a news conference detailing the charges announced today. A new 11-count document of charges against Luigi Mangione in the murder of Brian Thompson on the streets of New York City. I want to go right now to NBC's Tom Winter. Tom, tell us where this takes the case and how close this gets him to coming back to New York to face charges.
Well, it gets it a lot closer, Lester, because now there's a couple of different legal instruments in play here. This indictment that was returned by a Manhattan grand jury, and you heard the district attorney there calling it, quote, a brazen, targeted, and premeditated murder. He said that this was a frightening and well-planned murder, and you heard the words from New York City's police commissioner, not mincing them as far as the severity of the crime. According to her, the first count of the murder in the first degree in furtherance of terrorism, this is a statute in New York State, Lester, that is designed for people that want to try to kidnap or kill another individual to kind of further their cause or intimidate the public in this case, presumably being now deceased UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. So it's quite a serious charge. And as you heard, the potential penalties here, life in prison without parole in New York State.
Okay, so I think that's it there. Oh, there's more. It's just buffering right now.
Next up for Luigi Mangione is to be in a Pennsylvania courtroom on Thursday morning. 2 planned hearings there. One is a preliminary hearing, which is almost, legal experts say, entirely waived. And then the second will have to do with his extradition shortly after that, Lester, particularly if he waives it, as we expect. He'll be back in New York City potentially by the end of this week.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories.
Not much there. Not much there. But I do wonder if they're going to have a difficult time proving these charges, because it seems like they're aiming high. In the beginning, they said that they were not going to charge him. Well, at least in the beginning, the charges that were mentioned were second degree, and then people were commenting online that, oh, well, why is there no first degree murder charge at all? And it looks like they've just come back and figured out that they're going to use the terrorism statutes in the book. But again, I wonder what the statute says, because the reporter there said the public, right? But again, there's no evidence that he's attempted to strike fear against the public. You know, his aim was at UnitedHealthcare. So would UnitedHealthcare be considered the public in that case? If the reporter actually described the law correctly, would that be the case? So a lot of unanswered questions on my part there. But that'll be all for right now. That's the update. Luigi Mangione has been indicted on a first-degree murder in the furtherance of terrorism. So he was charged with an 11-count indictment earlier today by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Please like the live stream and subscribe to our channel. This has been a PDR Live. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.